Each trust is very much at a different place in its journey, we found when we went on the reviews, as I'm sure some of you will be. And the Challenge Partners review team and the trust adapted accordingly. One of the things that was really impressive from the first review that we took part in to, I think that the very last review that I took part in, was that Susan, as the lead reviewer, and Challenge Partners had adapted as we went through. And in fact, during the course of the 3 days of the review, we adapted the review to review the trust on its own terms. So it's very much about what the trust wanted, not about what the direction that the team were seeking for their own benefits. Like I said, it was very much about putting your own sort of framework and points of reference to one side. From both the leaders of the trust and the review teams, there was an overwhelming sense of integrity and commitment to contributing to improving the sector. This was really incredibly, I'm not going to say refreshing, because I think because we are such a young sector, we are learning as we go along. But I found that in every single trust that we were invited into, everybody was really open to sharing what they had found and sharing with colleagues. And I know that partnerships have formed as a result of some of these early trust reviews. And then finally, I would say that it genuinely has been excellent professional development. And I think it's a unique privilege and experience to, one, to be able to liaise with colleagues or partner with colleagues to help them evaluate their trust and to see it through a different lens. But it's a rare and unique insight that I think you just wouldn't get as a trust leader or as a senior leader. Thank you.
Thanks, Tesca, for setting that out so clearly. So Tesca picking up on some of the themes there and describing her experience as somebody in a trust that was reviewed and as a reviewer. If you do have any questions for Tesca about those experiences, pop them in the chat. Otherwise, we're going to go on and hear more from Tesca, because what we thought it might be useful to do, and we try and build this into all of our training at Challenge Partners, is to give you a little bit of an experience, in as much as it's possible to do in a short amount of time over video, of what it's like on a trust peer review. So as we said, that one of the really important opening bits of the review is the trust leader explaining a little bit about the context of their trust. So Tesca's going to do that for us, and then I'm going to ask her some questions based on some of the questions that we use over the course of the review. So Tesca, over to you again.
Thank you, Kate. So the Haberdashers Aske Federation Trust is a multi-academy trust in South East London. We've got 9 schools, 9 state schools, ranging from 4 secondary schools to comprising of 4 secondary schools and 5 primary schools. And we also have a teaching school. We've got just over 6,000 pupils and around 500 staff. So we're a medium-sized trust. The school improvement model that you see before you very much starts from the vision, and the trust vision is very much about improving and enhancing the life chances of our pupils, many of whom are from disadvantaged backgrounds. We have range from 30% to just over 45% in some of our schools of disadvantage. And our goal is obviously to provide an education that not only stretches our pupils academically, but also enriches their wider development. We very much start from a basis in everything we do across our trust with self-evaluation in all areas of our trust. I won't go into that so much now, but perhaps I might pick up a little bit more on that when I speak about some of the questions Kate might ask me a little bit later. In terms of our strategy, so we plan our 5-year strategy, which is then underpinned by individual annual federation plans, or trust plans rather, so that there's clarity about how we will achieve our objectives. I suppose the question is, across our 9 schools, what goes into the strategy and the plans? Well, it's determined by areas that we can have a high impact on that will have a high impact on our effectiveness. It's issues that affect all the schools in the same way. They There are obviously issues that are pertinent to individual schools, and they will go in the individual schools plans, but where we can collectively work together for the benefit of the trust, then it makes sense to do that together. And like I said, there is benefit in working together rather than going alone, because there must be some benefit to being a collective rather than being an individual. So we have common strategies around things such as our curriculum. In our secondary schools and in our primary schools, we have an aligned curriculum. They have common strategies around our pedagogical approach and around our assessment models, just to name a few. The next stage of our strategy is very much about distributed leadership. So we believe that every school within the trust, no matter what stage it is in its development or growth, can be a capacity giver. And we very much structure our teams around the schools to enable us to work together. And I'll say a little bit more about that a little bit later. In terms of our professional development, we're really fortunate to have a teaching school. Everything that we do is underpinned by professional development. So whether that's the high quality professional development that's provided at a federation level, through our teaching school, or at a school level. And because we have aligned priorities, and I'll refer back to the curriculum, it means that there are some things that we can do collectively. We do things like that through our joint conferences, through a structured programme of professional development that everybody across the trust can buy into, that we sort of have off-the-shelf programmes. And in terms of the high accountability and governance, so we have a really clear framework of governance and accountability through our standards boards and our task group and trust governance. And just to unpack that a little bit, our standards boards are an executive level governance, whilst the task group is a subgroup of our local governing boards, our LGBs. And through our task groups, our governors and the exec meet a lot more frequently to monitor and evaluate the progress of the school improvement plans, and where governors are provided with much more granular detail than they might be provided at your sort of standard meetings, 3 or 4 meetings throughout the year for school improvement. I think the final thing to say, I think I might just go into the next slide, Liz, is that we have a really well documented approach to school improvement. And by this, I mean, I've shown in the slide there just the range of documents that underpin what we do. And this is very much about supporting people to better understand the consistency of approach. And we've developed this over a number of years, and you'll see in any of our schools and across the Federation that these sort of are the reference documents, if you like, and the training documents for our staff. So whether it's from professional development for, you know, talent management for staff moving from middle leadership to senior leadership, or middle leadership development, or it's just our approach to self-evaluation, that's very standardized.